Okay, good. Welcome to the second session from week number 1 from our advanced level. So let's check what we're going to cover today. We are also, as usually, we're going to start with talking a little bit about a situation. Then we're going to review a little bit about gerunds and infinitives. We're going to talk about ing clauses, and we're going to practice. Okay? So we're going to start, and I have a question for you. Can you judge a book by its cover? Have you heard that expression before?
Yes.
Okay, what do you think?
I think no, because in
Okay.
experience of my life, I learned about not judge a book by its cover.
Not judging. Okay, not judging. Okay.
With people, with situations, with
So not only with people, but also regarding situations, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to check this short.
Excuse me. Is this the new Rolls Royce?
That's a 350.
Or at the beginning.
Excuse me. Is this the new Rolls Royce?
That's a $350,000 car, sir. It's really expensive. I don't know if you can afford it.
Well, is there any way I can see the inside?
Look, man, I really don't want to be rude today. I just don't want to waste my time,
Yes,
okay?
you can see the inside, sir. Let me grab the keys for you.
There's no way that this guy is getting approved for a loan. I mean, look at the way he's dressed.
Loan? Who said anything about a loan? I'm paying cash.
Okay. I am genuinely confused. Where did you get all that money?
I'm a multimillionaire. And I dress like this because I want people to help me for me and not for my money.
Here's a piece of advice. Next time, don't judge a book by its cover.
Okay, so opinion about this particular situation.
The seller judged
Yes.
a man for these clothes
Yes.
and thinking that the man don't have the money to buy
Okay. You
an
thought that,
expensive
right?
car. Yeah.
A luxury car.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So similar to what you were saying, right? Not to judge, in this case, people based on their appearance, right? Because you don't know. Okay, anything else that you want to add?
I think it's a rule that in life is necessary to how do you say seguir?
Seguir? You
Follow.
mean follow. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Because a lot of situations about not judging about I don't know, clothes or appearance or something like that is a lot in the life of that.
Exactly right. And it's very soulless, right? I mean, what is the point of judging a person because of the clothes they are wearing, right? It's very vain. It shows that you are kind of selfish. Okay, good. So let's move on to what we are going to practice today, which is gerunds and infinitives. Do you remember a little bit about them?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to review some of them and to maybe learn some other constructions that we can make with both of them, okay? So remember that when we use two verbs, when we want to use two verbs, the second verb that we are going to use can be into different possibilities. We can use it either in a gerund form, or we can use it in an infinitive form, okay? There are some verbs and expressions that are always mandatorily followed by a gerund, right? This is the case of verbs like appreciate, consider, enjoy, give up, keep, put off, and suggest. Okay, so when you have these kind of verbs, the second verb that you are going to use needs to be in the gerund form. Let's check some examples over here. They're considering starting company team, a company team. So if you notice over here, we are using consider it in an ing form because we're using present continuous, but still the second verb that we are using, which is starting, needs to be in the ing form, okay? Starting over here, they're missing a T. Number 2, mom enjoys having lunch with her friends. So over here, we are following the third person rule. So still, my verb can be conjugated in the time that I am using, but the second verb has to be in the ing form. And the third one, I keep calling my sister, but she won't answer. Same way over here because we have keep, okay?
Okay.
There are some expressions, some constructions in which we need to pay attention, okay? There are some constructions in which we are going to use the verb be, okay? Then we're going to include an adjective and a preposition or a verb, okay? These are called preposition expressions, and we usually use a gerund after them. So this is the case of be bored with, apologize for, be convinced of, complain about, take part in, think of, be worried about, take part in, be good at, object to, sorry, not object, but object, which is the verb, be used to, participate in, and think of, okay? So after all of these preposition expressions, you need to use a gerund, okay? Let's see some examples. Sophie apologized for being rude to you. Number 2, since I was a kid, I've been good at dancing. So we have be good at. So the secondary verb that we're going to use is dancing, and it goes in the gerund form. Number 3, Lola is worried about failing her exams, and we have worried about, okay? Be worried about. And if you see, we can change the be in terms of the tense that we are using. It's the same case of be bored with or be convinced of. Questions about any of them? Or maybe do you need an example with any of them?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Object of.
Object to.
Yeah, object to. Yeah.
I object to studying one more year. In this case, it's the preposition, okay? Object to. Over here, you need, in this case, to remember that this to is not a part of the verb, okay? It's part of the construction of the phrase that we are using. So it means, in this case, with object, let's say that you refuse to, okay?
Oh, okay.
So an example would be, I object to studying one more year. ¿Listo?
Okay.
Good?
Yes.
Nice. Okay. And we have as well some verbs that you are only going to use them with infinitive, with an infinitive form on the second verb that you are using. So verbs followed by ask, decide, expect, intend, need, refuse, seem, and tend. All verbs after any of these verbs they need to go, or they need to be in their infinitive form, okay? So number one would be, example number one, I never expected to meet so many people. So we have expected, and then the verb, which is meet. Okay, number two, my brother decided to take some new courses. Okay, so over here we are not saying my brother decided, for example, taking, okay, some new courses, because the verb decided needs to be followed by a gerund. ¿Listo? By infinitive, not a gerund. ¿Listo?
Okay.
Number three, she tends to spend so much money in things that she doesn't need. So again, we have verb tend, and then it goes with the infinitive form. Questions about them?
What is tend?
Tend?
Yeah.
To have, let's say, a preference to. So in Spanish, it's very similar, which is tenderá. Okay? So
Okay.
it means that you, let's say, that you have a preference on doing something. Okay?
Maybe inclinarse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think in Spanish we also have the word tender, tenderá, ¿cierto? Como yo
Yes.
tiendo a, no sé, comerme las uñas, supongamos, ¿no? I don't bite my
Okay.
nails, but
Yeah.
it's an example. Pero sí, ¿cierto? That one does work in Spanish as well, ¿cierto?
Yes.
Listo, yes, to have a preference for something. Okay. Any other?
Yeah. Intent.
Intent, when you have, it means that you have the intention to do something. Okay, so it's a trial, an attempt. Okay, you have maybe a plan, a goal, or an idea to do something.
Okay.
So there is a specific intention to do something. Okay. Mm-hmm.
No more.
Any other?
No. No more.
Okay, good. We also have expressions with verb be and adjective, and these ones are only followed by infinitive. ¿Listo? So we have be ashamed, be amazed, be determined, be eager, be happy, be hesitant, be lucky, and be ready. So when you find any of these adjective expressions, the verb that you are going to use afterwards needs to be in the infinitive form, okay? So let's see some examples. I will be happy to help. You're not going to say, I will be happy helping in this case. ¿Listo? Number 2, she is eager to participate in the school play. So eager means that she's willing, okay, to participate, that she wants to participate. And number 3, Louis is ready to go if you are. Okay, so over here, as you notice, we have different be and adjective expressions that you are going to use with infinitives. Questions about any of them?
Ashamed is avergonzado, ¿ya?
Ashamed. Tell me?
Avergonzado, ¿ya?
When you feel embarrassed about something.
Okay, ashamed. Hesitant.
Hesitant, when you doubt. When you
Good.
don't know what to do.
Okay.
And eager, it's when you have a desire to do something, when you want, okay?
Yeah.
So I am eager to learn, for example, Japanese. So that's a desire, a willingness that you have. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And we also have some verbs in which you can use both, either infinitives or adjectives. So this is more of a preference. It's a matter of style, but you can use both in them without changing the meaning, okay? With no changing in the meaning. So that is the case of verbs like begin, continue, like, love, prefer, start, and bother, okay? Hate can be also over here in this list, okay? Most of the verbs that refer to stative actions can also be in this list. Not all of them, but most of them, okay? So let's see an example. I like reading at breakfast, or you can also say, I like to read at breakfast. So you have the two possibilities, okay? Number 2, I prefer having dinner at home, or I prefer to have dinner at home. And number 3, she started doing her homework, or she started to do her homework, okay? So usually if we talk about British English from the UK, they are going to prefer the gerund form after these kind of verbs. And if you go to the USA or Canada, they usually use the gerund form, okay? But you can also listen an American saying, I like reading. That's also a possibility, okay? So in this case, you decide which one you like best.
Okay.
Okay, good. Are you familiar with the word bother?
Yeah, it's molestar.
Pero meaning that it could be that it bothers you to do something or that it doesn't annoy you, okay? It's usually annoy.
Okay.
Okay, good. Okay, and we also have another form in which we can use a gerunds and infinitive, which is in passive voice, okay? So if the first verb is followed by a gerund, we use the gerund structure, okay? So you kind of follow the conjugation that the first verb has, okay? So you're going to use the subject, the verb, then the being, because it's passive voice, and then the past participle, okay? So for example, I keep being invited by my coworkers to lunchtime yoga class. Or number two, she enjoys being seen at the top restaurant. Okay? So if my first verb is followed by gerund, we use this one. Listo? Including being in the passive voice and then the past participle of the verb. Okay? And if the verb, the first verb is followed by an infinitive, like asked, ¿cierto? In this case, I am going to place the verb the verb be in the infinitive form, which is to be. So let's see, for example, she asked to be chosen for the job. Or number two, they wanted to be invited to the party. So after wanted, we use infinitive. After asked, we use infinitive. After keep and enjoy, we use gerund. Okay?
Yeah.
Questions about them?
No.
Good. Okay. And we have a little bit more of information, okay? When we have verbs like forget, mean, and regret, they can be followed by either an infinitive or a gerund, but the meaning is going to change depending on the case, okay? So if we use forget plus an infinitive, it refers or it means that that's something you didn't do, okay? That this is something that you actually didn't do. So for example, Marcelo forgot to meet his best friend at the train station. So Marcelo, no es que se, maybe that, let me phrase it. He didn't do, right? He didn't meet his friend at the train station. And on number two, most of my students forgot to do their homework. So that's something that they didn't do. They didn't do the homework. So when we have forget plus the infinitive, we mean something that you didn't do, okay? And if we use forget plus a gerund, we are meaning an action that you did probably, right? In an earlier time. It means previously or before, okay? And when we say in fact, it's because it actually happened. Okay, so Marcelo never forgot meeting his favorite actor. So it means that he has already met his favorite actor, okay? And number two, my students never forgot going to the museum in our last year's trip, meaning that they did go to the museum during last year's trip, okay? Questions about them? Or is it clear?
In the second one, the forget plus a gerund is like when you talk about a, I don't know, past situation, but in this moment you realize, or
Not
example,
necessarily that you realize, but think about, it's more like an expression. And I think in Spanish we also say como, for example, Marcelo nunca se olvidaría de conocer a su favorite actor, ¿cierto? Es como to give a little bit more emphasis, ¿ok? Fíjate que no estamos tanto haciendo referencia a que the action happened earlier,
okay.
¿cierto? Sino it's more like an expression about the situation, ¿listo? Pero tiene the reference that it happened earlier.
Okay.
Yes? Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, remember that normally verbs that are followed by a gerund They usually follow verbs like appreciate, consider, enjoy, give up, keep, put off, suggest. So when you have all of this, the second verb goes in the ing form. Verbs that are followed by infinitive: ask, decide, expect, intend, need, refuse, seem, and tend. Verbs followed by either gerund or infinitive: been, bother, continue, hate, prefer, or start. And remember that you can use them in passive voice, but you have to pay attention to the pattern that you have to follow. So if it is, for example, keep is usually used with a gerund form. So in passive voice, you would use it as I kept being invited by my coworkers to a lunchtime yoga class. And in the case of ask, which is usually followed by a gerund, by an infinitive, you say she asked to be chosen for the job. Okay?
Okay.
Are we ready to practice?
Yeah.
So over here we have, let's say, a story posted on a blog, okay? And the idea is that you choose either forms of the verb, depending on the case, and you're going to choose if it is the second verb goes in the gerund form or in the infinitive form, okay? So we're going to read
Okay.
it to check vocabulary, and then you're gonna have 3 minutes to do it, okay? Let's start. I've never been a really popular guy. Go ahead, continue. Don't read the options, okay? Just we're checking the vocabulary.
Okay, I'm the type of person who tends
We have to have, having,
to have having one or two good friends rather than a lot of acquaintance.
acquaintances.
Acquaintances.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Over here, rather.
rather,
Uh-huh. And acquaintances are people that you know, that you are familiar with, pero they are not your friends, your close friends. Okay? In Spanish, we say conocidos.
conocidos. Okay. Well, when I moved away from my hometown after getting a job in Denver, I really needed to making some new friends. Because I'm shy, I considered to changing my personality to become more outgoing. But that was very difficult for me. Just the same, I didn't give up to trying. I decided to creating a new image for myself. I bought myself some new shoes, new clothes, and even got a new haircut and started to wearing contact lens.
Where?
Where,
Okay, wear or wearing contact lenses. Okay, continue, please.
however, I didn't seem to changing anything. I was beginning to regret to leaving my hometown when, all of a sudden, I got a call from my old friend Jim. He was planning to moving her pretty soon.
Okay, stop over there. Planning,
Planning.
not
Okay.
planning. Okay, planning. And here.
Here.
Okay, because it is sounding like her. And remember,
Yeah.
that is the possessive. Okay, here pretty soon. Okay, please continue.
He wanted some advice about finding an apartment in the city and suggested to sharing an apartment with me. Well, he agreed. I really enjoyed to having someone to spend time with, and together we've made a lot of new friends.
New friends. Good. You have been practicing the pronunciation of regular verbs?
Yeah.
I can tell. I didn't correct any of them. Okay, good. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes for you to decide or choose. You can circle, okay, using any color of your preference, the correct answer, if it is this one or the other one, okay?
Okay.
Let me set the timer over here. Okay, I've been talking with the microphone now. Okay, please help me by reading it again now, including your answers. And we're going to stop over there and check the answers, okay?
Okay, I have a doubts about maybe two, but
Okay, we're going to check them, don't worry.
I've never been a really popular guy. I'm the type of person who tends to have one or two good friends, right, rather than lots of acquaintances.
Acquaintances. Okay, very good. So after the verb tend, we use infinitive.
Infinitive. Yeah.
Good.
Well,
Please continue.
when I moved away from my hometown after getting a job in Denver, I really needed to make some new friends.
Okay, after the verb need, we use
Infinitive.
infinitive. Okay, over here, this word, away. This
Away.
word has a schwa at the beginning. Okay, so remember that when we have a schwa sound, it is a relaxed sound. Okay, so it's not away, but away.
Away. Okay.
Good. Listo. Let's continue.
Because I'm shy, I consider changing my personality to become more outgoing.
There we go. After consider, we use gerund.
Gerund.
Okay.
But that was very difficult for me. Just the same, I didn't give up trying.
Give up.
Trying.
Trying. There you go. Trying. So we have after give up, we use gerund. Good. I
decided to create a new image for myself.
Okay, very good. So after decided, we use infinitive.
I bought myself some new shoes, new clothes, and I even got a new haircut and started to wear.
What do you think?
Or wearing. In this
Both are
case,
correct.
yeah.
Both, exactly. Good. Entonces you decide which one you like. After start, we can use any of them. Okay.
However, it didn't seem to change anything.
Very good. After the seem, we use infinitive.
I was beginning to regret to leave my hometown when all of a sudden.
Okay. Or after regret, we use gerund.
Okay.
Leaving. Acuérdate que when you have regret to as the expression, you use it. But in this case, it's leaving.
Okay.
Regret leaving.
I have a doubt with this verb.
No, regret is kind of tricky because it's not a very common verb, but it is highly used. After regret, we always use gerund. Listo?
Okay.
Regret leaving.
I got a call from my old friend Jim. He was planning to move here pretty soon.
Exactly. After planning or plan, we use in this case infinitive. I was going to say a different word. There you go.
He wanted some advice about finding an apartment in the city, and I suggested sharing an apartment with me.
Okay, with suggested, we use in this case gerund. Very good. Sharing. Suggested. Okay.
Suggest. Okay.
That is the one. Okay. Well, he agreed.
He agreed. I really enjoy having someone to spend time with, and together we've made a lot of new friends.
There you go. Difficult?
No.
Not so much. You have to learn the actions, the verbs by heart.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of practice, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's know what verbs.
Yeah,
use
I have a list for you. So I'm going to share this list. It's a very short list, okay? But these are one of the most common verbs. So you can check the list in order to remember, to check them, okay? So over here on the first page, you have the ones followed by gerund with an example. And then on the second one, we have common verbs followed by the infinitive, okay?
Okay.
So you can add them to your list or start making your own list, okay? And I have an extra exercise. We're going to do only 5 exercises because it has like 14, but you can continue playing on your own in order to practice, okay?
Okay.
So we're going to let it load. So over here we have, my family and I really enjoy to the park on weekends.
Going.
Go. Good. This is a conversation, right? Part of a conversation. Let's watch that new movie. No, I hate horror movies. What do you think? To watch, watching, or both?
Both.
Both. With hate, you use a gerund. Listo? That is in the same category as like, enjoy. Listo?
Okay, but
So you-
in the summary on a slide, hate are in both of them.
Let's go back. Yes, pero in this case, they are preparing the ing form. I prefer the ing form. It's, let's say, highly used. No quiere decir que esté mal, pero in the case of the game, they prefer the ing form. Okay? Me as well. I use it better with a ing form rather than infinitive, pero you can use it with infinitive. Okay? Pero it's not very common. Just heads up about that. My friend doesn't want out today because he's sick. So after want.
I think it's to go.
To go, it is. I really don't feel like to the shopping mall. To go, going, or both?
Like with both.
Both feel like. They prefer going. I would say going. Okay?
Okay.
Going. We agreed our car for a cheaper car. Agreed.
Agree.
This one only has one.
I don't know what is agreed.
When you, for example, when you talk to a person and they both decide and they get to the same answer because they decided, both of them. Yes, is that clear? Or not?
Work out.
So when you share the same opinion or the same point of view of somebody.
Okay, it's like
Estar de acuerdo, ponerse de acuerdo. What do you think? So when you doubt, okay, when you doubt, you can write it over here. Agree, infinitive or gerund. And then you can check the options that you have over here, okay? But you have to check, no? For example, over here, verbs followed by ing, but we want to agree. Well, we have to check the list. Do we, here, agree, infinitive,
Okay.
okay?
S-
And
start.
then if you ask over here, look, infinitive. Mira, decide, expect, hope, plan, agree, ask, choose. It only goes with infinitive. ¿Listo?
Okay.
We were over here. Entonces, to sell, as you
sell.
said. Okay? Mhm. Listo,
Yeah.
good. Of course, this is a short list because these are the most common verbs, but the list goes on and on and on. So if you have your, let's say, notes, you can just add. I have a book in which I write, and once I figure out a new one from, I don't know, a very, let's say, strange verb, I add it to my list because that's the only way. Okay, now let's move on to ing clauses. So as the name says, these are a type of sentences that include an ing form of a verb. And we use these clauses, these type of sentences, to modify two type of sentences or a sentence in order to reduce it. Here, this is the key word of this part, okay? So these are modifying phrases with ing, and they are reduced adverb clauses. They can only happen, you can only use them when you have the same subject in both clauses or in both sentences. If you have a different one, you cannot reduce the two sentences, okay? So let's see an example. While I was walking down the street, I saw a car crash. So over here we have the same subject, I and I. So I can reduce the sentence using an ing form by saying, while walking down the street, I saw a car crash. ¿Listo? But let's check the second sentence that we have over here. While I was walking down the street, a car crashed into a pole. Over here, the sentence has this subject, I, but on the second one, the second clause, the subject is a car. Since the subjects are different, I can't reduce the sentence using an ing form, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
So heads up,
it-
only with the same subject.
it's similar when I talk about reduce relative clauses, yeah?
Exactly, it's very similar. But in
But
this
with
case, we're
ing.
not, exactly, we're using ing. So, and there are three different types that we're going to check. So on type number one, we have maybe the same time, okay? Meaning the time of the verb, okay? So when the two actions happen at the same time, or one action happens during another action. So, for example, my laptop crashed when it was opening a file. So over here, the laptop crashed at, let's say, almost at the same time that it was opening the file. Listo? So it happened after this other action. I can reduce it and say, for example, the next day in class, my laptop crashed opening the file. This is extra information that we have on the phrase, pero I am reducing the two clauses over here. My laptop crashed opening the file. Fíjate que aquí yo tengo the relative pronoun, and I am reducing even more the sentence, okay? Number two, I was trying to stay calm while I gave the presentation. Is the while and this when give us the reference that the situations are happening at the same time or that one happens before another one. Remember that over here, we are using the continuous form. So we need to identify which action happened first or if the two actions happened simultaneously, okay? I was trying to stay calm while I gave the presentation. We can reduce it by saying trying. Remember that we can use gerunds as subjects. Trying to stay calm, I gave the presentation as best as I could from memory. So over here, we need to add a little bit more information in order to make the sentence or make the clause have more meaning, okay?
Okay.
But we reduce it by using the ing form over here and then the rest of them, okay? So this is the first type, when we have situations happening at the same time or very similar in time, okay? Let's check the second type. When we have different times, so one action happens before or way before another action. So in these cases, we are going to use have, verb have, pero with the ing form, having. And we're going to use past participle, okay? In order to make the reduction. So we're going to say, I got the results of my exam. ¿Cierto? That is the first action. And I went home. So me going home happened after I got the results. So I can combine the clauses and reduce them by saying, having gotten the results of my exam, I went home. Notice that we have the same subject, I and I. And over here, since we need to include the ing clause, we're using having. Listo? Number 2, I saved money for months and I was able to buy a car. So this is the first action. And then to buy a car, being able to buy a car is the second action. So we're going to reduce by saying, having saved money for months, comma, I was able to buy a car. This cannot be translated in Spanish because it would not make sense, okay? But just so you know. Questions about this second type?
No.
Good, okay. Type number 3, when we have reasons or explanations. So when we want to explicitly a little bit more what happened, okay? So reasons and explanations for actions can also be expressed with ing clauses. In this case, we're going to replace the word because and the subject. Listo? So over here we have, because I was too embarrassed to call him at home, I had to go to work. So we have the same subject. In this case, since I am explaining or giving a reason, I am going to delete the because, and I am going to, in this case, transform the verb that I am using. Here we're using verb to be. So being too embarrassed to call him at home, I have to go to work after all. So here we are adding a little bit of extra words to help with meaning. And number 2, because I wasn't able to remember my password, I clicked the link to have it sent to my email. I can reduce it by saying, being unable to remember my password, I clicked the link to have it sent to my email. Questions about them?
It's not necessary to start with ing clauses, ¿verdad? True.
What do you mean?
For example, in the second sentences, I switch the sentences, yeah, and For
What do
example,
you mean
start,
by switching? You're starting
Yes.
here with an ing clause
yeah,
and using the same
and
sentence.
for switching, I refer to, I start with, I click the link to have it sent to my email, being unable to remember my password.
No, we usually start with the ing clause.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's
There
not
are
possible to
some-
switch, yeah?
Yeah, there are some sentences in maybe because of the meaning, you will have to start with the second clause rather than the first one, pero you always start with the ing form.
Okay,
So you would say like clicking the link to have it sent to my email, supongamos, I recover my password. Okay, pero you have a different information afterwards.
yeah,
Not this being unable or because I was unable. Okay, because in this part you are explaining why you have to click the link to have it sent to your email. Why? Because I was unable to remember my password. Okay, in this type of reason, which is in this third type, which is the reason. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, my
Right.
answer is for, because in Spanish, we usually explain the reason after.
Pero no, not in this case. I mean, in
Okay.
English. Por eso te decía a moment ago that it's very difficult to translate these ones.
Yeah,
Because they don't have sense in Spanish. Because we
Okay.
state reasons in a different way. Entonces,
Okay,
these
and-
ones we cannot translate it porque sería como siendo incapaz de recordar mi password, además porque tú no dices yo cliqué del link, sino como que yo tuve que pedir
Yeah.
el link to my email. Pero no es común in Spanish because we
Yeah.
state reasons afterwards.
And the same for the other two types, yeah?
Exactly. Yeah, like because in English, in Spanish, we don't usually start with an ing form.
Yeah.
We don't use gerunds as subjects as we do in Spanish. Por eso es que a veces it's so difficult to understand un gerund as a subject, porque nosotros no tenemos eso en español. For example, having gotten the results. Sería como habiendo obtenido los resultados, me fui a casa. Sonaría muy literario, ¿no? Como muy
Yeah.
poético. Pero in real language, in Spanish, tú no dices eso.
Yeah.
Dices, me dieron los resultados y me fui a la casa, ¿cierto? Lo usarías más en contextos un poco más literarios, ¿ok?
Okay.
And same over here, trying to stay calm, ¿cierto? And it's because in Spanish, we don't have gerunds as subjects. So it's very difficult to translate them. And
Yeah.
if you can actually figure it out how to translate, it would sound strange in Spanish or weird because the language functions in a different way.
Okay.
Okay? Good. In addition to what we already checked, there are some starting sentences that we can also use and that allow using the ing clauses, okay? So for example, those expressions are have a good time, have a hard time, have an easy time, have difficulty, have fun, have problems, spend time or waste time, okay? I had a good time playing video games all day Saturday. Fíjate que aquí they are not the subject of the sentence. But after them, we can include an ing clause. Laura will have a hard time catching up with all the assignments. And number 3, I wasted time talking to my internet carrier. Okay, so after these expressions, you can include an ing clause. ¿Listo?
Okay.
Pero you use a different subject. For example, I had a good time traveling to Cartagena. Okay? Or I had a hard time learning gerunds. Something like that. Okay? Questions about any of the words of the expressions, sorry? The sentences that we have?
Waste time is perder el tiempo, ¿ya?
Tell me.
Waste time is perder el tiempo.
Yes, so in English, we have to differentiate the two types of time. So when we say spend time, is that you, let's say, use the time in a good way, wisely. But when we use waste, is that you are not using time properly. Entonces estás malgastando, right? Perder time. Pero in the first one is, let's say, as in Spanish, como pasar el tiempo, ¿cierto?
Yeah.
The time, the duration that you are employing, but it's a good amount of time that you are taking or doing an activity. Okay?
Yeah.
Good. Any other?
Have fun is divertirse.
Exactly. To have, to be good, to enjoy the time. For example, you could say, I have fun walking my dogs. Or in your case, maybe, I don't know, do you like to play video games?
Yeah, a lot.
I have fun playing video games. Okay?
Yes.
Good. So we're going to practice. So we're going to make sentences using having, starting the sentences with having, and we're going to organize the words in order to make the sentence. Okay? This is the first one that we have over here. So we have went, she, work, her, home, and finished. Having is already using or mentioning the, let's say, the ing clause that we need to use. So what do you think?
About what?
About the first one.
It's having finished work, she went her home.
She went.
Her home.
No, in this case, if you want to use her, you would use to her home, but we don't have a to.
Yeah.
So that her doesn't go over there. The her
finished her work.
Exactly, her work. ¿Listo?
Okay.
Okay.
Second one is having.
Having tickets, theater, bought, into, our, went, we.
I think it's having bought. Tickets.
Tickets.
Our tickets.
Our tickets.
We went into the
We went into
the
the theater.
theater. Vamos a salir.
theater. Yeah, that's a hard word.
Because the before word the that theater is difficult to pronounce.
It is for any Spanish speaker because we don't have that sound. So theater, right? It's super difficult. Don't worry about that. Now, it's not just you. Even us sometimes get our tongue twist.
Yeah.
It's difficult because those are sounds that we don't know, right? That we don't have in Spanish. Okay, listo. Good. Number 3.
Having continued their journey, they had lunch.
They had
Had
lunch.
lunch.
Okay, so if you notice over here, we're using having and we are mentioning activities that happen before another one, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, number 4, having.
I think it's having done.
Having what? Excuse me?
Done. Done. I don't.
Having done.
Having done uh, a cup of tea.
Are you sure?
It's a lot of words.
What? Try to separate the two actions.
Okay. One action is
You have coffee, shopping, a cab, and you have went. So identify the two actions. Tú tienes done and went, right?
Yes.
What have you done?
Shopping.
Exactly. Having done the shopping.
Shopping. I went for a cup of coffee.
Exactly. Got it?
Yeah.
You have to identify the two actions and then notice which one starts or which one belongs to the rest of the sentences. Okay? Got it?
Yeah.
Listo, good. I have more exercises for you. Now we're going to reduce, we're going to make one sentence from the two that you have over here. We are going to begin with the ing form, or también could be not and the ing form, okay? Maybe, depending on the case, we need to include having to mention that an action already happened. ¿Listo? Yes, yes. And we have, I felt tired, so I went to bed early. And you were giving the second part. Number 2, I thought they might be hungry, so I offered them something to eat. Number 3, Robert is a vegetarian, so he doesn't eat any kind of meat. Number 4, I didn't know his email address, so I wasn't able to contact him. And number 5, Sarah has traveled a lot, so she knows a lot about other countries. Okay? I am going to give you 4 minutes to think on them, okay? To check them, a ver the options, okay? Questions about words, vocabulary, maybe? Or not really? Okay.
Um, mm, mm, mm. No,
No, no, good?
yeah.
All good? Okay, go ahead, continue. Remember that you don't have to include the having. Listo? Always. You can just
Yeah.
add the ing of the verb. Okay. One more minute.
I have a doubt with a negative sentence.
Okay. Remember, how do you start a negative one? Not. And then what is the verb that you have?
No,
No. Entonces, not knowing.
knowing. Okay.
Okay. In this case, not knowing his email address. And what about number 2? Help. Okay.
Okay, I can't complete because the the text box told me, but yeah, it's
Okay.
having that.
Well, let's check them. So this one, the first one says, I felt tired, so I went to bed. Remember that if we use have or having in this case, it means that one action happened before.
Before, yeah,
Do you think feeling tired is an action that happens way before going to bed?
maybe.
Bueno, not necessarily, porque no tenemos tanto context. O sea,
Okay.
it's not incorrect, pero if we think about the order of the sentences, it's not very distant. So in this case, I would say feeling tired because that is the moment in which you are feeling that, okay? Not that you have been feeling tired for a long period of time, okay? Si no tendríamos otra parte del context, okay? So in this case, feeling tired, I went to bed. Kind of happening at the same time. ¿Listo?
Okay.
Como en la condition number 1 that we checked. ¿Listo?
Yeah.
Not saying that this is not possible, yes, pero tendríamos que tener a little bit of context about the duration of the sentences, okay?
Okay.
Listo. Number 2. I thought they might be hungry, so I offered them something, what is it? Something to eat, right? So this action happened before the second one?
Yes.
Yes? Are you sure?
I think yes, because I don't know because
No, because look, they probably, she or he is probably looking at them. Think about a minute, right? I thought they might be hungry, so I offered them something to eat. The distance between the situations is not very far. You don't have a word or something that tells you that he thought of them and therefore he bought something to eat. Como si dijera, for example, something like, I know we have a party, ¿cierto? And I bought something for you to eat because of the party. Or I brought food to the party. If you brought food, it means that you prepared or bought the food previously, okay? So in this case, we would say, thinking, okay, they might be hungry. I offered them something to eat. Okay?
Yeah.
Listo? Pero, the same case as the previous. We don't have that much context. Pero, if you notice the duration of the sentence, the difference between them is not very distant. So in this case, we would not use have. ¿Listo? Pero if you have a reference about a situation or a thing that you did lot of time before, in that case, you're going to use have. ¿Listo? Number 3, very good. Being a vegetarian, Robert doesn't eat any kind of meat. Listo, good. Number 4, we already checked that. Acuérdate que de negatives, you start with not and then the gerund form. And number 5, this one is the opposite. Sarah has traveled a lot. Mira que tienes el verb, in this case, present perfect. Acuérdate when we have present perfect, we indicate that it's a previous action. ¿Cierto? It's not short in time, but it has happened a lot of time before. So because of this, she knows a lot about countries. So in this case, we would say, having traveled. Acuérdate que travel could be with 1 L or with 2 L's, depending on the type of English that you prefer to, if it is British or American, okay? Having traveled, in this case, bueno, the exercise prefers this one, ¿listo? Having traveled a lot, Sarah knows a lot about other countries. Okay?
Okay.
Tricky?
No.
Not so much. I find this part tricky, little bit tricky. You have to pay a lot of attention. So we don't have time, but I have additional exercises for you to practice. Okay? So since I consider it is kind of tricky, so I am going to share the exercises with you so you can practice a little bit more, okay?
Okay.
Just in case that you find it very difficult. Okay, or you want extra practice. Listo? So in the first one that we have over here, and this is a page that I like a lot because she explains really good. And you have, look, you have a lot of extra material. So you can review, or you can take this same quiz in a PDF form. Okay? So we
Okay.
have these exercises over here. We have like 10. On the second one, you have the explanation again. And then on exercises, you can click and practice the exercises. And then on the third one, the same. Over here, you're mixing, reducing the sentences. Look, I was watching television, I fell asleep. Watching television, I fell asleep. Or you could also say, I fell asleep watching television. In this case, you can switch the order. Listo?
Okay.
And you have 10 other exercises. And I like these ones because you can actually know if you did it right or not, ¿cierto? Rather than in those exercises when you don't know and then you end up saying like, am I correct or not? How do I know? Okay, so these are additional exercises for you to practice. Okay, so thank you for being in class with me today. Do you have any questions?
No. Thank you, teacher, for your
No?
class.
All good? Don't forget to practice this little bit more, okay?
Okay.